Kathy's Povee. What do you mean? Have we met before? I asked, blinking up at him in disbelief. The handsome alpha smiled. He had this effortless charisma that made me very attracted to him. He didn't even have to say anything. It was probably because of his strong alpha aura. He had the sort of strong jawline you only see in movies, and yet something about him felt strangely familiar. Did we know each other? If I did, how come I don't remember him? After all, the Alpha of Silver Shadow Pack was one of the youngest and most promising leaders of the Northern Alliance. Under his leadership, his pack had become one of the strongest forces of the North. You don't remember? Derek tilted his head. St. Mary's Elementary. You and I were in the same class, Miss Everett's homeroom. At first, my mind came up blank. But then, like a dam breaking, memories flooded in. The small classroom filled with the smell of crayons and chalk. The tall, awkward, cute boy who had given me his sandwich when I cried over losing mine. The quiet glances across the playground. Oh my goddess! I gasped, covering my mouth with my hands as the memories rushed in. Derek? Little Derek Thorne? He chuckled, and the sound made my heart skip a beat. Not so little anymore, I hope. Without thinking, I threw my arms around him in a tight hug. I couldn't help it. I was overwhelmed with the feeling of familiarity and joy. Derek was so nice to me in school. He caught me with a deep, warm laugh, and his arms wrapped gently but firmly around my waist. It wasn't until I caught the burning pressure of Kane's stare from across the hall that I remembered where I was. I sensed it. I could feel the anger radiating off him. But for the first time in a long time, I chose to ignore it. He had forfeited the right to that kind of emotion over me the moment he chose Violet. Pulling back slightly, I smiled up at Derek. You really grew up, I teased lightly. So did you, he murmured. You're even more beautiful than I could have ever imagined. I blinked at him, feeling my cheeks heat up. His compliment didn't feel like an empty flattery. It felt sincere. How long had it been since someone looked at me not with pity, disgust, expectation, or judgment, but with admiration? We found a quiet corner with our champagne glasses in hand and continued to reminisce. I remember you always had that stubborn spark, Derek said, leaning closer. You once punched a boy twice your size because he stole my crayons. I laughed. I don't even remember that. I do, he said, smiling so tenderly it made my breath hitch. I remember everything about you. My heart skipped a beat. For a moment, I wondered if this was all a dream, this handsome alpha, looking at me like I was the only woman in the room, making me feel like maybe, just maybe, I hadn't lost everything after all. And he made me feel safe. There was no rush, no pressure in his gaze, only admiration, and something quieter, deeper. As the orchestra began to play a slow, melodic tune, Derek extended his hand toward me with a smile. May I have this dance, Kathy? He asked. I hesitated only for a second. I looked across the hall, and there he was. Kane, his blue eyes darkened with anger, locked onto mine. Violet stood beside him, clinging to his arm like ivy to a tree, but Kane didn't seem to notice her. His whole attention, his whole being seemed focused solely on me. For a heartbeat, I felt a bit doubtful. But then I reminded myself, if Kane could parade Violet around, flaunting her as if our years together had meant nothing, then why couldn't I live a little too? I placed my hand firmly in Derek's. I would love to. He grinned, and gently he led me to the dance floor. The music swirled around us, and Derek's hand settled gently at the small of my back. The other held my hand delicately yet firmly. As we moved in sync with the rhythm, I realized how long it had been since I felt free. You're a natural, he teased as he spun me around. You're just a good lead, I teased back. You're stunning tonight, he murmured. No, beyond stunning. You're gorgeous. I blushed, lowering my gaze. It was overwhelming, but not in a bad way. For once, someone saw me, really saw me, not just as Kane's ex Luna, not just as a disgraced woman, but as Kathy. The dance floor around us faded into a blur. It was just Derek and me, smiling, spinning, laughing like old friends who had found each other again after lifetimes apart. We danced like we had practiced this 1,000 times. We moved to the rhythm of the music. He spun me gently and caught me swiftly in his arms. In that moment, I stared into his beautiful silver eyes. Then, suddenly, I saw someone appear beside us, Kane. Mind if we switch dance partners, he said to Derek. The music didn't falter, but my heart did. I looked up at Kane, meeting his glare head-on. His jaw was set and his whole body was rigid with a possessive rage he hadn't bothered to hide. The nerve. The absolute nerve. He stood there, wearing Violet on his arm all night, ignoring me, discarding me. And now, the moment I found a sliver of happiness, he thought he could waltz back in and act as if he had some claim over me. What the hell was he doing? Kane's povey. The golden lights of the ballroom shimmered against the marble floors. The music played in a slow rhythm. I stood at the center of a group of council elders, speaking of the future, the Pact's expansion, alliances, the protection of our borders. Words flowed from my lips, practiced. I should have been fully focused on this moment. After all, these were the men and women who decided fates. But then I heard it. Loud giggles. Due to my advanced hearing, I could hear some whispers from a group of women in the room. "She's looking quite lively tonight, isn't she?" One woman whispered behind her glass of champagne. "I always thought she was too plain for him," another said, not bothering to hide her smirk. "Well, not anymore. Not with Alpha Derek sniffing around her. What does he even see in her? She's used trash." The irritation hit me hard. I knew they were talking about Kathy. My jaw tensed so hard, I thought I might crack a molar. I could feel the council members looking at me, expecting me to continue, but my eyes were locked, razor sharp, onto the women gossiping about Kathy. How dare they talk about her like that? Mine. She's still mine. My wolf paced furiously inside me. I could feel him snapping his teeth, fighting to be let out of its cage. I was about to step away to tell those women exactly what I thought of them when Violet's hand wrapped around my forearm. "Not now," she said softly, leaning closer. "This isn't the time, Kane." I forced a breath through my nose. Right. Control, image, leadership. I had to maintain these things. I couldn't lose my cool here. I'm the alpha and everyone is watching. I turned back to the council, managing to continue my speech. I said the words, answered questions, smiled where necessary, but my mind wasn't there. It was with her. Kathy. I caught a glimpse of her across the room. Gods! She looked like a dream tonight. She looked ethereal in her dress. Her luscious hair fell down her back in lovely waves. Her face was lit with laughter. Her smile was so radiant that it physically hurt to look at her, and the man standing beside her, Derek, basked in it. He was soaking it in while standing far too damn close. She laughed at something he said. What was so damn funny? The way she smiled at him. I felt something snap deep inside me. Was he the reason she wanted a divorce? My wolf snarled savagely in my head at the thought. No, we couldn't allow that. We had to fight for her. The music shifted into a lively melody, and Violet tugged on my arm again. I nodded stiffly and led her onto the dance floor. But even as I moved, my eyes were only on Kathy. Derek had his hand resting just a bit too low on her waist. Kathy's laughter echoed through the room, light and genuine. It twisted something deep inside me into a painful knot. She never laughed like that with me. Was it my fault? The thought dug into me like claws. I wouldn't just stand there. The orchestra transitioned into a partner-swapping waltz. It was a common ball tradition. I saw my opening. Without hesitating, I maneuvered Violet toward them. I decided to hide my true intent under the facade of the dance. When we were close enough, I turned to Derek with a neutral smile. "Mind if we switch dance partners?" I asked him. Derek, the ever-gracious gentleman, chuckled and released Kathy's hand without protest. "Of course," he said, stepping toward Violet. Kathy barely had a second to react before I captured her hand in mine. Our fingers touched, and a spark of electricity shot straight through me. Her warmth, her scent, soft, sweet, home. I pulled her closer than necessary. My hand rested firmly on the small of her back. Just being close to her made my wolf at ease. He growled in satisfaction. I felt complete. Yes, that's the word. I felt complete in a way I haven't felt in a while. "Kane," she said. I only looked at her, really looked for the first time in what felt like forever. Her cheeks were flushed, her chest rose and fell a little too fast. She was beautiful, infuriating, mine. We moved in sync, effortlessly. The world faded around us as the music carried us across the floor. Her body brushed against mine with each step, and every brush sent a pulse of desire through my veins. "You smiled at him," I said roughly. The image of them laughing made my wolf growl even louder. She narrowed her eyes. "It's none of your business who I smile at." I tightened my hold slightly, spinning her to the side before pulling her against me again. The hell it isn't, I growled under my breath. You're carrying my child, Kathy. Everything you do is my damn business. Her eyes flashed with fury, and something else. Something raw, something that made my gut clench. She tried to pull away, but I wouldn't let her. Our bodies pressed closer together, moving with the music. Our breaths mingled in the thin space between us. The tension between us crackled like static electricity. My hand rested against her back, but it wasn't enough. My fingers ached to explore every inch of her. You have no right to act jealous, she hissed quietly. Not after everything. I do have a right, I interrupted. You're mine, Kathy. You always have been. She gasped. I noticed the way her eyes darted to my lips, the way her fingers, despite herself, tightened slightly against my chest. Fuck. The neckline of her dress was low, exposing creamy skin I remembered tasting, memorizing. The memory of those nights, the way she used to moan my name, hit me hard. Goddess, just looking at her made me hard. Kathy, I whispered. Before I could say another word, the ballroom lights suddenly went out. A collective gasp echoed through the crowd. The orchestra faltered. Darkness swallowed us whole. My instincts kicked in immediately. I pulled her tightly against me, shielding her with my body. One arm wrapped protectively around her waist, while the other anchored her head against my chest. I felt her hands clench into my jacket in surprise. Her body, soft and warm, molded perfectly to mine. What the hell was going on? Kathy's POV. I don't know what was more jarring, the way his arms wrapped around me like I still meant something, or how easily I believed even for a second that I did. Kane, I whispered. One of his hands wrapped around my waist protectively, while another was cradling my head against his chest. I could hear the sound of his steady heartbeat. I felt safe and protected. This was all I'd ever wanted. My breath caught in my throat before I could stop it. His chest pressed against my back. It was warm, solid, heartbreakingly familiar. He leaned down, his breath brushing my ear. Don't be scared. Everything about his voice in that moment, low, calm, protective, unraveled me. It made shivers run down my spine. The moment the ballroom lights cut off, everyone started to panic. Gasps and murmurs turned to shouts. Glass shattered somewhere. The string quartet's final note hung eerily in the air before silence swallowed everything. And still, I heard him, felt him. He was protecting me. As soon as the lights went off, he pulled me and held me close, like it was instinct, like he was so worried and didn't want anything to happen to me. It made me feel special. Maybe somewhere Kane still held me in his heart. His arms locked around my waist tightly, shielding me with his entire body like a wall between me and the chaos, like he used to. Before the betrayal, before Violet, before everything fell apart. I froze. I felt helpless to my old feelings. No matter how many times I told myself I was done with him, I found myself falling for him all over again. Because this was the Kane I fell in love with. The Kane who used to hold me like I was the most precious thing in the world. The Kane who would have torn down kingdoms to protect me. His warmth bled into my skin, and for one fragile, foolish second, I closed my eyes and let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, he still cared. But that second was short-lived. A scream echoed through the darkness. It was loud, desperate. Kane! Violet! Of course, it was her. I felt his body tense instantly, the way it always did when it came to her. I didn't have to look at him to know his eyes were moving across the room, locating her. I didn't have to ask to know where he was about to go. His arms dropped from around me. I tried not to flinch at the cold that rushed in where his warmth had been. I'll be right back, he said breathlessly, already pulling away. He didn't look back. He never did. Just like that, he was gone, rushing through the crowd toward her voice like he always did. Always her. A bitter laugh crawled up my throat. I didn't let it out. It would have made everything too real, too pathetic. How stupid was I to think anything had changed? He could hold me. He could whisper to me. But when she called, he ran. Every single time. He would always choose her. And that was the sad reality of things. Why did I still feel sad? I should be used to it by now. Maybe it's because no matter how much I try, a part of me would still love Kane. Would still crave him. He was the father of my child. He was my husband. I'm so pathetic. The lights flickered weakly, but there was still darkness. The ballroom looked like a haunted version of itself, full of half-screams and people panicking all over. What exactly went wrong? Did someone do this? Was this a prank or something? Kathy! Someone called. I turned toward the familiar voices. James. Derek. I felt a bit relieved. Maybe I wasn't alone in this mess. It seemed they were looking for me. "I'm here," I started to call out, but something stopped me. A smell. It was a sharp smell, kind of like a chemical. It filled the air like invisible smoke. It hit my nose before my instincts could register it. Too late. A hand came from behind, and before I could register anything, I felt a cloth slammed against my face, soaked in something that burned my nostrils. My reflexes kicked in. I tried to twist away, tried to scream, but my voice died in my throat. My arms flailed uselessly as the strength poured out of my limbs. I was helpless. My heart pounded in terror, but my body wouldn't move. Everything spun. The darkness. "Ja," I croaked. Darkness crawled in, suffocating. My knees buckled. My last thought was of Kane's arms around me, and how he'd left me again, and then nothing. Everything went black. Kathy's POV. The same strong chemical scent jolted me violently from unconsciousness. It wasn't a gentle waking. It was like being yanked from the bottom of a dark ocean. My lungs seized as I gasped, and my eyes fluttered open to a blinding light above me. My head throbbed, thick with fog, like I'd been drugged, or worse. I blinked furiously, trying to make sense of my surroundings. The room was cold, unfamiliar. There was a smooth concrete floor beneath me, metal walls. No windows, just a flickering bulb overhead that buzzed like a dying insect. I tried to sit up, only to realize my wrists were tied behind my back, my ankles too. I felt pain all over my body. My limbs ached even without me moving. No. My breath hitched. My heart slammed in my chest. I tugged at the metal restraints. I winced at the pain flaring through my arms. The metal clamps were tight. My skin burned with each movement. "Hello?" I screamed. "Is anyone there? Please, let me go. I don't know what this is, but please." My voice echoed, but nobody answered. A door creaked somewhere. I held my breath. Shadows moved just beyond the edge of the light. "Please," I whimpered, trying to keep my voice steady. "You don't have to do this. I'm Luna Kathy. I'm Alpha Kane's Luna. If it's money you want, he'll pay. I'll give you anything. Just let me go." I strained to hear a response. Anything. But all I got was silence. Silence so loud it screamed in my ears. I realized then they weren't going to answer me. Not now. Maybe not ever. And suddenly, an icy fear crept into my bones. Had Kane even noticed I was missing yet? Would he come? Would anyone? From that day on, I lost track of time. There were no windows in my prison, no clocks, just the fluorescent lights and the haunting sound of footsteps that came at regular intervals. They never spoke. They never looked me in the eye. They came in, took my blood, vials upon vials of it, and left without a word. I tried screaming at them, begging, threatening. I even tried praying aloud just to fill the void. Each time I was met with the same, silence. And every time the needle pierced my vein, I felt more of myself slip away. Not just physically, though I was growing weaker by the day, but emotionally, spiritually, like something inside me was cracking open and leaking out. But it wasn't just me I was worried about anymore. I curled in on myself one night, if it even was night, and cradled my stomach. My baby. I didn't know how far along I was, not anymore. My cycle of time had vanished. My sense of reality blurred between sleep and sedation, pain and nausea, but I knew something precious was inside me, and I knew I had to protect it. "I'm so sorry," I whispered to the tiny life growing inside me. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I don't know what they want, but you're not going to die here. Not like this. I swear it." My hand trembled as I pressed it to my belly. No one was coming. The realization hit me. "Kane, please." It was only when I'd nearly given up that something sparked within me. It was desperation. No, something deeper. It was the wolf within me. I'd buried her for so long, numbed by drugs, exhaustion, and fear, but she stirred now, weak but alive. "Fight," she whispered. "Get up. Get out. Protect the pup." My breathing quickened. My body trembled. I had one chance, one impossible, reckless chance. The next time they came and left, I waited for the sounds to fade. Then I closed my eyes. "Come on," I begged her. "Just once. Give me strength, please." A wave of energy spread through me, not like before. It was small at first, struggling, but it was there. I gritted my teeth and leaned forward, twisting my wrists against the metal hook that bound them to the wall. The strain was excruciating. My skin tore. I bit my lip until I tasted blood. And then, snap. I collapsed to the floor, groaning in pain. My limbs were half numb and bloodied. But I was free. My vision swam as I forced myself up, holding onto the wall for support. Every breath burned and my body screamed at me to stop. No, I told myself. We move. I slipped into the hallway. With every movement I made, I felt pain. But I knew I had to keep going. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. I limped down the corridor, my hands brushed along the wall to steady myself. Voices. I ducked into a dark corner, pressing my back to the cold wall. My heart pounded as two figures walked past, talking to each other. I held my breath. They turned the corner. Move now! I took a shaky step forward and froze. That was when I heard a low growl behind me. No, I spun around and came face to face with three men. Trying to run, one of them sneered, "Stupid bitch! No, please!" I screamed, backing away. They lunged at me. I screamed, struggling with all I had, but it wasn't enough. They dragged me back down the hall as I kicked and thrashed. I was screaming so loudly my throat tore raw. My wolf snarled inside me, but there was no strength left to shift. And then I heard it. A voice. It was altered. Masked, but very familiar. "She tried to escape," one of my captors said into a phone. Pause. "Yes, I understand. We'll make sure she won't try again." The voice on the other end spoke, but it was scrambled. Yet, something about the tone, it seemed familiar even though it was altered. I know that voice, don't I? It was like catching the scent of something from a dream, familiar but unreachable. "Wait," I gasped. Who was that? I know them! "Shut her up," someone said. A fist collided with my stomach. I folded with a cry of pain, clutching my belly. No, the baby. Please! They threw me into the room like garbage. I barely had time to curl up before I felt something painful on my back. It was a whip. One of the men whipped me hard. I winced in pain. It felt like my whole body was on fire. "Stop!" I screamed. The leather lashed across my back, again and again. I screamed louder, rolling on the floor in pain. My hands clawed the ground, trying to crawl away, but they didn't stop. Pain came in waves across my back and arms. I could feel blood. I could smell it. Please stop," I whispered. Another lash. Tears streamed down my face as I curled tighter, shielding my belly with my arms, sobbing into the filthy floor. "Please, my baby, please." The whip finally stopped. I was left trembling in a pool of my own blood and tears, gasping, broken. The door slammed shut behind them. I was alone again. Shaking, I reached one trembling hand to my stomach. Still there. Still, I closed my eyes, whispering softly, "Moon goddess, please." Tears ran down the bridge of my nose, soaking into the floor beneath me. If he ever loved me, if Cain ever loved me at all. A sob tore from my throat. Then please let him come. Let him find me. And in the silence that followed, I prayed, not just for rescue, but for hope. Because I was almost out. And I didn't know how much longer I or my baby could survive. Cain's Pove. Once I calmed Violet down and the lights finally went back on, I stood in the middle of a ballroom-turned place of panic. The chandeliers overhead revealed faces filled with fear. I could hear the gasps and whispered voices. The Lunas were huddled together, some clutching at their mates, others searching the shadows like they expected the power to cut again and snatch them away. "Please remain calm," I said firmly, raising my voice above the whispers as I moved toward the podium. "There's no danger. It was only a minor power glitch. Everything is under control." The other alphas followed my lead. Their deep voices echoed mine as they tried to steady their own packs. We had to make sure everyone remained calm. They had to know that they weren't in any sort of danger. But I could feel it, an edge, a pulse in the air that hadn't been there before. My position as alpha of the strongest northern pack meant every eye was on me now, judging how we handled this. My wolf stirred beneath my skin. He was unsettled. "Something's not right," he growled in my head. "Did you smell that?" I had. During the blackout, there was a strong, almost metallic scent. It was foreign, unfamiliar, and wrong. It hadn't belonged to any of the attendees. My instincts were all over the place now. What was that smell? I pulled my beta aside. "Jason," I said in a low voice, "launch an investigation. Discreet but immediate. Sweep every inch of the venue and surrounding grounds. I want a report before dawn." Jason nodded. "Understood, Alpha." 2 hours later, the tech team brought back their report. They said the blackout was caused by outdated wiring, a faulty circuit. They even had the evidence to show. But my gut twisted. No, we'd done a full inspection not even 2 weeks ago. I made sure the technical things were upgraded. We installed new wiring and upgraded state-of-the-art systems. This wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate, and I wasn't the only one who felt it. My wolf was pacing. It's a setup. Something is coming. We had no choice but to end the ceremony early. I could see the disappointment on the faces of the gathered alphas and lunas. They were all excited to be here, and they looked like they were genuinely enjoying the party. I offered my apologies and reassurances that it was all under control, that I would ensure nothing like this would ever happen again. I was still mid-conversation, shaking hands and calming people down when I saw James sprinting toward me. His face was pale, far paler than it should have been for someone who was enjoying the ball a few moments ago. "Kane, it's Kathy. She's gone." My blood froze. "What do you mean, gone?" I asked. He was breathless, panicked. "We've looked everywhere. When the lights came on, I checked the whole room. No one's seen her since the lights went out. Her scent, it's completely gone." My world tilted. No, my wolf snarled. "She could have just left for air." I started, trying to convince myself. "No, we checked the perimeter, every entrance, every escape route, nothing, even the cameras went out during the blackout." The rage hit me hard. Violet, still hanging off my arm, chose that moment to speak. Her voice was sweet as she talked. "Honestly, Kane, maybe she left on her own." Violet spoke. "She was upset about being replaced during the ceremony, wasn't she? Maybe this was all her idea, 'cause a blackout and draw attention to herself. It's dramatic, but she always had a flair for that." The implication in her tone was clear. James exploded. "How dare you? Kathy would never do that. She wouldn't endanger innocent people just to make a point." "James," I snapped sharply, "enough. But she's accusing Kathy of being a traitor." "And you're yelling in a room full of lunas and alphas," I growled, stepping in close enough that he felt the authority pulsing from me. "We will not disgrace our pack with internal bickering. We do not know what happened yet, and every moment you waste fighting is a moment she could be in danger. I order you to stand down." His jaw clenched. "You're protecting Violet. I'm protecting our pack's reputation, and Kathy's," I said. "But I will get to the truth, no matter who it leads to." He glared at me like I'd just betrayed him and Kathy. "You'll regret this," he said. "You're going to regret ever letting that woman anywhere near your Luna." I watched him storm off, and I could feel the fury radiating off him like a firestorm. But I didn't respond. Because underneath the anger, the shame, the tension in my pack, all I could feel was fear. I closed my eyes and reached for the bond I had with Kathy. It was faint. Too faint. I couldn't even pick up her scent. She wasn't dead. I would have known. But she wasn't safe either. My heart clenched. "Kathy, where are you?" I could see her face in my mind, the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed. I remembered the last time we argued, the disappointment in her voice when she spoke about the divorce. I'd thought I was protecting her by keeping things diplomatic. But now she was gone, taken, and I had no idea who was behind it. The scent during the blackout, the cameras failing, the deliberate cover-up. Someone had orchestrated this. I opened my eyes, breath ragged. "Jason," I growled into the mind link, "gather the warriors, form a tracking unit. Kathy's been taken, and I swear by the moon I'll bring her back." And as for Violet, her smug little smile had vanished when James yelled at her, but I saw it, something in her eyes. Hint of satisfaction? Guilt? I wasn't choosing sides, not yet. But I would find the truth. And when I did, whoever was responsible, whether it was a stranger in the dark or someone under my roof, would pay for it in blood. Kane's povee. I had deployed every available warrior to search for Kathy. From the moment we realized she was gone, the pack never slept. We combed every inch of our territory, twice. Patrols ran day and night non-stop. I wouldn't even let them stop. I kept on barking orders for them to continue even when they were tired. We even reached out to neighboring packs. I enlisted their aid under the guise of alliance, but nothing. It was like she had vanished into thin air. No scent trail, no witnesses, no messages, just silence. My wolf never stopped growling. Never. He paced in my mind, struggling to be let out. He blamed me for everything. "You let her go," he growled at me. "I didn't know this would happen," I retorted. "You walked away. You knew she was hurt. You could feel it, and you still let her go." "That's not what happened. I was trying to protect her." From what? From the truth? From Violet? From yourself? He wasn't wrong. I hated how right he was. I blamed myself. Every moment I replayed, the cold look Kathy had given me at the ceremony, her trembling hands when I left her for Violet, the way her eyes silently pleaded for me to say something even through the darkness, they haunted me now. I saw her every time I closed my eyes, her laughter, her stubborn scowl, her warmth. And now she was gone, carrying my child. The thought felt like a knife twisting inside me. I hadn't slept in days. My bed was filled with regret and guilt. I didn't bother changing clothes. I barely ate. I haunted the corridors of my own palace like a restless ghost, barking orders, listening for even the faintest whisper of news. It wasn't until the third day that Jason came to me. He carried a file clutched tightly in one hand, and the look in his eyes told me everything before he said a word. "We found something," he said. "Something you need to see." I snatched the folder from his hands and flipped it open. Reports, a distorted recording, testimonies from the guards posted near the eastern border, a sighting, a cloaked figure matching Violet's build leaving the palace compound through a hidden exit, a passage no one should have known existed, one that led straight to the dark woods beyond our territory. I stared at the photos. For a moment, my mind was unable to process what I was seeing. "No," I muttered, "she wouldn't." But my wolf growled deep. "She would. She has. Elder Alyosha. Remember what happened to him?" The name caused an ache in my chest. Violet had killed Alyosha, and I had covered for her under the reason of self-defense. And now. I stormed toward Violet's chambers with anger in my veins. The guards stepped back immediately from the entrance of her room. They bowed their heads. She was brushing her hair at her vanity when I entered, looking every bit the perfect, elegant Luna. She looked over her shoulder and smiled. "Kane, you look exhausted. Have you eaten?" "We need to talk," I said sharply. Her smile faltered. "Now?" "Now." She turned to look at me with a concerned expression. "What is it?" I dropped the folder on the table. "Tell me why the guards saw someone who looked exactly like you sneaking through a forbidden exit the same night Kathy vanished." She didn't touch the folder. Her expression froze. "You're accusing me again?" "I'm asking. Before I start accusing." Her eyes burned. "You think I did something to her? Again?" My silence was all the answer she needed. She stood, trembling with rage. "I have stood by you while that woman undermined me in front of your entire pack. She even planned for me to be killed. I have loved you even when you didn't love me back. I let you parade her around while I swallowed every insult, every whisper, every dirty look. Violet." "No. You want to know what hurts the most, Kane? That even now, you believe the worst of me without proof. You've never trusted me." My hands balled into fists. "Because you've given me reason. Alyosha died because of you, and now Kathy is gone. And there's a trail that leads straight to your door. How do you expect me to ignore that?" She stared at me, breathing hard. "You know what, Kane? I am done trying to prove myself to a man who keeps looking over his shoulder for someone else. Don't twist this. This is about Kathy's life. This is about you. You never stopped loving her. You've just been waiting for an excuse to cast me aside. Admit it." "Just listen to me, Violet," I snapped, the words ripping from my chest. "I want to know where the mother of my child is. That's all I want right now. I don't have time for your silly mind games." Her hand flew. I didn't stop her. She slapped me, and the sound echoed like a gunshot. She was shaking. Her eyes were glassy with tears. "Then don't worry," she whispered. "You can go look for her since she is all you care about." And just like that, she stormed past me out the door and didn't come back that night. I stood there long after she'd gone, staring at the empty space where she'd stood. My chest felt hollow. My thoughts were filled with guilt, confusion, and dread. All I felt was exhaustion. I went back to my office and distracted myself with pack reports for a full hour. Still, I was hoping to hear from the trackers about Kathy. If I didn't hear from them in the next 30 minutes, I'd have to continue hunting again myself. Then, my phone rang in my pocket. I brought it out to check who it was. It was a number I didn't recognize. I picked it up. "This is Alpha Kane." A long pause, then a distorted voice spoke back. "We have your Luna. Violet. If you want her back, don't call the council. We'll be in touch." The line went dead? Kathy's Pove. The moment I saw Kane, I felt a bit of hope. I was scared too. but a small part of me hoped that he would choose me, would choose our baby. Maybe this was a chance for us to start over. "Kathy," I wished I could hear him say, "I'm here." My mouth was still stuffed with a foul-tasting rag that muffled even my sobs. Every inch of me ached. My shirt was torn. My legs were still bruised from when they dragged me across concrete like I was nothing. Not a person, not an expecting mother, not a Luna, just a pawn. My thighs still bled from when Violet stabbed me. I was in total pain. But none of that hurt as much as what happened next. As soon as Kane's voice reached the room, I heard a scream. "Violet." "Kane, please!" she wailed, sobbing so loudly it cracked through the walls. "Please don't let me die! I'll do anything! Please!" I turned my head weakly toward the only window across from mine. Through the smoky glass, I could see her. Her face was smeared with blood, her blonde hair was in knots, and her body was filled with bruises. What? I saw Violet moments ago, and she looked fine. In fact, she looked as polished as ever. I had no idea how she managed to hurt herself, but whatever she did worked. She looked like someone who had been through hell and back for days. She looked so broken, so scared, so innocent. If Violet wasn't Luna, she would have had a successful acting career. I tried to scream, to yell his name. "Kane!" My voice was a strangled whimper against the gag. My throat burned, raw from all my crying. My eyes pleaded, though no one could see them. "Please, please look at me too. Please don't forget me." One of the kidnappers, a tall man with ice-cold eyes and a huge scar on his face, stepped in front of Kane and spoke to him. "Well, Alpha," he said, pulling out a Zippo lighter. "You get to be a hero today. You get to save one." His words hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. "One," Kane's voice trembled. "One," the man said again. "So tell me, Alpha Kane, who's it going to be? Which Luna are you going to save? I have two of them. The one crying for you like you're her savior, or the one too broken to beg?" My heart was hammering so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. Every beat screamed the same question. Will he pick me? I already knew the answer. But still there was a moment. A stupid, fragile moment of hope. And then Violet, Kane said. The name tore through me. No hesitation, no pause, no second thought. "Violet," he said again. The world stopped. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just went numb. My heart, the one I had fought to protect, the one I had offered to him in pieces over and over, that heart shattered so quietly inside my chest I almost didn't feel it. Almost. But then came the strong smell of gasoline. That was when I knew they were never going to let us live. The kidnappers poured it freely. One of them, a younger guy with twitching hands and blood beneath his fingernails, flicked open the lighter. "Time to burn," he grinned. I struggled. I twisted. I screamed into the gag so hard my throat tore. I couldn't die. No, not like this. Not like this. I still had someone waiting for me. I had a child inside me. My mom. My dad, James. I had a lot to live for. I can't die. I won't. The flames caught faster than I thought they would. The gasoline-soaked floors lit up like paper. Fire spread along the edges of the room. Smoke filled my lungs. It burned going in and didn't come out. The heat was unbearable. My vision blurred with sweat and tears. I started coughing. And then, bang! The door burst open with a slam that shook the walls. Kane. For one fleeting moment, I believed he had come for me after all. He looked like a god of war. He had a determined look on his face. His muscles rippled even without him moving. My heart, traitor that it was, stuttered. His eyes scanned the room. Please, I thought, please see me. See me just once. But he didn't. He ran. Right past me. Right to her. Right to the other room, to Violet. I watched, paralyzed, suffocating, crumbling, as he scooped her fragile body into his arms, like she was precious, like she was his entire world. I watched them through my window. She clung to him, her sobs melting into his shirt. I saw his mouth move. He told her she was safe, that she'd be okay, that he had her now. Not a single glance spared for me. And that's when it hit me. He never truly chose me. Not really. Not once. I wasn't the love, I wasn't the choice, I was the placeholder. And gods, I hated myself in that moment. Hated myself for loving him. Hated myself for not having a wolf, for being weak. If I had a wolf, maybe I could have fought. I could have found a way to shift and escape. I was about to let that hate swallow me whole when I heard it. A voice that wasn't mine, and yet it came from inside me. "Mate," it whispered. The word echoed through my soul. Kane. He was my fated mate. The fire roared louder, but it couldn't drown out the sound of destiny that I heard inside me. A hollow laugh cracked in my burning throat. Fated? Now he was my fated mate, and I was just finding out now? When he had already made his choice? When I was being left to die like garbage? No. No. If I lived, I would reject him. I would rip that bond from my bones before I ever let him break me again. And that was my last thought before the darkness swallowed me whole. Kane's Povey. I was in the car when I reached out to my mind link, speaking to Clayton, my gamma. "I've got eyes on the main building. Any word from inside?" I asked him. "No movement, Alpha," he said. "Thermal shows 2 bodies in separate rooms. Looks like it's them." Violet and Kathy. I closed my eyes for a beat, my jaw clenched. I couldn't imagine what the 2 of them must be going through. I'd get them out of here alive. I swear it. We had no choice but to get down from the car. When we did, I came face to face with 3 rogues. I could tell from their scent. The leader was a tall, muscular guy with a huge scar on his face. "Where are they?" I growled. The leader laughed. "Patience, Alpha. I give you 1 minute to tell me where they are, or I swear, you'll regret this. Ask about me. You know I'm not bluffing." "Kane! Kane, please!" a voice screamed. It was Violet. She was sobbing so loudly from the window upstairs that I could hear it. When I saw her, my heart clenched in my chest. She looked like she had been through hell and back. Her body was filled with so much bruises. "Please don't let me die. I'll do anything, please," she cried. "Well, Alpha," the leader said, pulling out a Zippo lighter, "you get to be a hero today. You get to save one." "One?" I asked. Was this some kind of sick joke? "One," the man said again. "So tell me, Alpha Kane, who's it gonna be? Which Luna are you gonna save?" "I have 2 of them. The one crying for you like you're her savior, or the one too broken to beg. Choose one." Like they were toys in some sick game. I swallowed the growl that tried to rise in my throat. "Violet." The words felt like ash on my tongue. Not because I didn't care about Kathy. I did, but I had a plan. I'd studied the maps for hours, planted my men where they needed to be, memorized every blind spot in the layout of that abandoned factory. Once I had the location, I knew I could get in, get one of them, and double back for the other before the trigger-happy psychos could react. And Violet, she'd saved my life once, back when I had nothing. Bleeding out in a warehouse, half dead after a betrayal that almost left me for dead. Violet had been the one who refused to leave me. She'd cradled my head in her lap and assured me I'd be okay. I owed her. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I'd be fast enough. But I didn't expect the betrayal. The explosion went off as soon as I crossed the outer perimeter. Bastards! It was a decoy all along. The real threat had always been inside. They never intended to free any of them. They planned to set the whole building on fire. The fire spread quickly. I moved as fast as I could, tapping into my wolf, but the fire seemed to be faster. The flames were already licking the roof by the time I made it to the building. Smoke clawed at the sky. The heat was so thick I could taste it. "Violet!" I called out, pushing through the collapsing doorway. My jacket caught a spark, but I didn't stop. I had one thought. Find Kathy. Save her. I stormed down the east hallway, knowing Kathy had been held in the second room on the left, but I was barely 5 feet from the door when I heard it. "Kane!" The voice rang out from the other side. Her voice was hoarse. Desperate. Violet. I froze. And just like that, I forgot about the present. I was back there. I was back in the day when Violet saved my life, back in that warehouse 5 years ago. Back on the floor, bleeding out with my vision going black, and Violet, covered in someone else's blood, crying as she pressed her palms to my chest, begging me not to die. "Just stay awake, Kane. Don't you dare give up on me. Please." She was the only one who hadn't run, the only one who had stayed. She had saved me, and for that I owed her. Just a second. That's all I gave the memory. Just a second. I turned. My boots scraped ash as I moved toward her voice. "Kane!" Another scream. I reached her door, slammed my shoulder against it once, twice until the lock gave way. When I got inside, I caught sight of her. She was chained to a pipe, coughing from the smoke, eyes wide when she saw me. "I got you," I said. I scooped her up, shoved through falling beams, shielding her body with mine. The ceiling groaned above us like it was going to cave. My ears rang, my lungs burned. But I made it out. I got her out. The second we crossed the threshold, she collapsed against me, whispering thank yous and sobs into my chest. But I didn't hold her. I turned and ran back inside, back for Kathy. Only, I didn't make it. Boom! The explosion shattered the windows and split the building with a heat wave that sent me flying backward and knocked me flat. The flames soared 20 feet high. The entire east wing was gone. And Kathy, she was gone. Oh no, no! My knees hit the ground. Everything stopped. I just knelt there, staring at the inferno that had swallowed her whole. And then it happened. My heart, it twisted, pulled, like it tore itself in half. Something like electricity rose in my chest. Not pain, not grief, not yet. Recognition. My wolf howled in a loud and violent manner. I felt a wave inside me. I couldn't explain it, but the feeling slammed into me. My wolf bared his teeth, screaming something I hadn't been able to hear before. Her name, Kathy, not Violet. Her, my mate. She was my fated mate. She'd been mine, and I hadn't known until the second I lost her. I felt the bond snap into place and break all at once, like a cruel joke from the moon goddess. What? Kathy was my mate? My lungs seized. I stared at the flames, unable to move. My world was reduced to one simple truth. I'd chosen wrong. Too late. Too fucking late. And I had to live with that. Live with the knowledge that I'd saved the wrong person, that I'd lost my mate, before I ever even had her, Kathy's Povey. I woke up to the steady beep of a monitor and the feeling of harsh, bright lights. My eyes fluttered open and the white ceiling came into focus. For a moment I couldn't breathe, not because of pain but because I didn't know where I was until I turned my head. James was there. So was Derek. Their silhouettes became clearer as my vision cleared. James had a book in his lap, unopened, and Derek's eyes were fixed on me like I was something precious. Something breakable. "You're awake," James breathed, rising to his feet. I could feel the relief from his voice. Derek remained seated but leaned forward. His expression was filled with concern. "How do you feel?" "Like I was chewed up and spit out," I croaked. My voice was hoarse as I spoke. They exchanged a glance. It was James who answered, softly, "That's not too far from what happened." Then James told me everything. About how Derek had charged into enemy territory to find me. About how he fought through the chaos, took down the wolves who'd kept me prisoner, and carried me out, bleeding and unconscious. I turned to Derek, stunned. "Why would you do that for me?" "He didn't take his eyes off me because no one else did, and because you deserved saving." I wanted to cry. Not from sadness, but from something else. Gratitude. Shock. A bittersweet ache that someone had finally come for me. "Thank you," I whispered. Tears fell freely from my eyes. "Thank you so much. I owe you my life." I touched my stomach, feeling scared for my child. "Your baby is fine," Derek said. I sighed in relief. Thank the moon goddess. "You're in the Silver Shadow Pack now," James added gently. "You're safe here. Kane, he can't reach you anymore." Kane. The name cut through me like glass. But then something inside stirred. It felt like a pulse, like a whisper. "She's here." My breath hitched. My wolf was back. I could feel her. Oh my goodness. I closed my eyes and sank into myself, into that quiet place in my soul where she had once lived and vanished. "You came back," I whispered in my mind. "You called," she replied. "You finally chose yourself." Tears spilled freely now. I thought I lost you. After everything with Kane, the betrayal, the bond breaking, the pain, I didn't know who I was anymore. I gave him everything, and he left me in pieces. "You didn't lose me," she said. "You silenced me. You let his shadow become bigger than your light." I sobbed silently. The monitor started beeping faster. "I can't go back." "We won't." Her tone turned fierce. "We deserve better, Kathy. We always have." For the first time in a long time, I believed her. 4 years later. The sunlight came through the tall pines. The sunlight on the trees made the forest look even more beautiful. I sat on a smooth rock near the edge of the clearing with a huge smile as I watched my children play. Noah, my son, he was determined and fearless and had just tumbled down a small slope. He popped up, dusted his little palms, and grinned. He didn't cry. "Good job, baby," I called. Arya, his twin sister, ran over with her eyes filled with worry. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," he declared proudly, puffing out his chest. They were my everything. Pieces of me I never knew I could love so fiercely. Born into a new life, born in safety, in freedom. The Silver Shadow Pack had become our sanctuary. The pack's land was huge. It was filled with ancient trees, and their borders were divided by crystal streams. Homes were built with natural materials. The people here were kind, not because of power or politics, but because compassion ran through their veins. They believed in family, in second chances, in healing. This pack felt like home. I loved it here, and so did my kids. Derek walked over with an easy smile. He rolled up his sleeves. "All right, who wants to race Uncle Derek to the river?" he teased. "Me," Noah shouted. "Me too," Arya beamed. They tackled him with giggles, and he let himself fall to the ground in dramatic defeat. I laughed, heart swelling. The sound of their joy made me feel so happy. Derek had been their rock. He never asked questions, never overstepped. But he was always there. He was always present. He was so kind to me. Even my wolf liked him. That voice inside me, once shattered, had started to hum again when he was near. And I knew I was slowly learning to let go. Of Cain. Of the pain. Of the fear. Maybe, just maybe, it was time. That evening, Derek walked me home from the pack house. We talked about nothing and everything. Dinner recipes, Arya's growing obsession with painting rocks, Noah's desire to become a hero like Uncle Derek. When we reached the porch of my cottage, I hesitated. Then I said the words I hadn't said in 4 years. "Do you want to come in?" I asked. He blinked, surprised. "Are you sure?" I nodded, even though my heart pounded. "Yeah, I want to." I couldn't help but feel guilty for keeping him at arm's length so long, for all the times he showed up and I turned away. He stepped inside and I closed the door behind us. We sat on the couch, shoulders barely touching. For a moment, we sat in comfortable silence. Then words began to come from me. "I was broken when you found me," I said quietly. "Not just from Cain, from myself. I didn't think I could ever feel anything again." Derek's voice was low. "You don't have to say this if you're not ready." "But I am." He turned to me and his hand lifted to brush a strand of hair from my face. His fingers lingered, warm against my cheek. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered. "Yes." His lips met mine, gentle at first, like a promise. I melted into it, into him, tasting everything he never said. My hand found his shirt, clutching it, pulling him closer. His other hand slid behind my neck, deepening the kiss. Time slowed. My breath quickened. I could feel the heat radiating between us. His lips were sweet and soft. His touch wasn't just desire. It was reverence. I felt it in the way his thumb stroked my jaw, in the way he held me like I might slip away if he didn't hold me. He'd wanted this for a long time. I could tell. We leaned back onto the couch, tangled in each other. His kisses trailed down my throat and I gasped, running my fingers along his shoulders. I wanted this. I wanted him. Then just as our clothes began to come undone, James's voice rang in my head. "Kathy, something's wrong," he said in an urgent tone. I froze. My heart stopped beating for a breath. My eyes widened in surprise. "James?" I whispered aloud. Derek blinked, pulling back immediately. "What is it?" I grabbed his arm. I was starting to panic. What was going on? Was it the kids? Please, goddess, not the kids. Cain's Pove. Losing Kathy destroyed me. There are no pretty words for it. No noble title, no battle won, no loyal subject's praise could hide the truth. I died the night she did. Or maybe I should say, I ran. I ran for someone else. The worst part, I heard her scream. I smelled her burning. I felt her terror across the bond, that final, shattering moment before it all went dark. And what did I do? I turned away and went for Violet. Coward, my wolf spat, every single day. "You're a fool," he growled from the depths of my soul. He clawed and struggled beneath my skin. "You're weak. You don't deserve to lead." He was right. I'd once thought being alpha meant strength, control, power. But what power did I have when I couldn't even save her? Her face still haunts me, night after night. I see her, in the flames, standing in the wreckage of the palace we were supposed to grow old in. In my dreams, the palace was in flames and Kathy was crying out for me. Her amber eyes are always wild with terror, and her lips form my name as the fire devoured everything around her. "Cain," she would scream in my dreams. I scream myself awake every time. My sheets are always soaked with sweat and whiskey. My throat is usually hoarse from yelling a name that doesn't answer anymore. I tried to drown it, the guilt, the shame, the unbearable ache, in bottles. At first it was a sip, then a glass, then the whole damn bottle. And another. I didn't stop. Jason would come and find me passed out on the floor of my office. My desk was always littered with reports I hadn't read, duties I'd neglected, and a bottle always close to my hand. "You think she'd want to see you like this?" he'd whisper, dragging me upright. "This isn't honoring her, Kane. This is burying her." I didn't want him to console me. I wanted him to punch me, to scream at me, to do something to hurt me. After all, I killed his daughter. I failed her. I failed him. I failed his family. But I wasn't ready to stop. I couldn't, because every moment I was sober, I could hear her, Kathy, screaming. And my wolf? He never let me forget. "You left her," he growled. "You ran." "I didn't." My voice broke every time I tried to speak to him. "I thought I could make it out in time to save her." "You neglected the only woman who truly cared about you. You chose a worthless whore over your mate." "You think I don't know that?" I screamed back once, shattering a mirror with my fist. Blood stained the floor. "I wanted to get Violet to safety first." "And what has safety cost you?" my wolf whispered. Silence was his punishment. He refused to shift, refused to lend me his strength. I'd failed our mate, and he would never forgive me. When James left the pack, he didn't say goodbye. He came to my office one last time, glared at me with hate in his eyes and said, "You don't deserve to be alpha." I didn't argue. What was there to say? He looked at me like I was something rotten. "Kathy would have done everything for you. She loved you. She believed in you." His voice cracked. "She was carrying your child, and you let her die." Then he walked out, and I never saw him again. My mother, Moon Goddess, bless her stubborn heart, tried to bring me out of my misery. She brought food, cleaned my office most times. She would drop warm blankets on the couch and whisper prayers over me when she thought I was asleep. But all I could see was them. The ones who mocked Kathy. The ones who called her not fit for a Luna. The sneers, the backhanded compliments, the scorn because she didn't come from some noble bloodline. Why should I fight for them? Why should I fight for a pack who only insulted and bullied Kathy? Why should I rule them or care about them? They didn't deserve her. Then came Violet, beautiful, sweet, kind-hearted Violet. She came every day with tea and flowers and hope. "I'll always be here for you," she whispered one afternoon, brushing my hair back from my face while I lay slumped on the couch. I turned away. Every time I looked at her, I saw my failure. The pack called her Luna. They celebrated her presence. They praised her devotion. But my heart had died with Kathy. I watched Violet sometimes, watched her try to hold a pack together where there was only pain. She tried to pretend we were building something. But I was just trying to survive the wreckage I'd caused. One night, after too much whiskey and not enough painkillers, I stumbled down the hall. My feet knew where they were going before my brain caught up. Kathy's room. I'd kept it locked for months, but something in me broke that night. I took a deep breath as I opened the door. It still smelled like her. The lavender lotion she used, the honey-sweet shampoo, her favorite blanket was still there. The moonlight spilled across her desk. I touched it like it would give me answers. I stood there in the center of the room with my arms limp at my sides, and I couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in. I collapsed to my knees. "I'm sorry," I whispered to the room. "I'm so sorry, Kathy." My voice cracked like thin ice. I clawed at the carpet, digging into it as if I could somehow bring her back from the dead. "I didn't mean to leave you. I thought I would come back." My throat tightened. I was trying to save her, but I didn't save you. And that's when my wolf finally answered. He let out a long howl inside my chest. "I hate you," he roared, pushing against my ribs like he wanted out. "I hate that I'm stuck inside you." "Then leave," I screamed. "Leave me. She died because of you." I beat my fists against the floor. "I know!" Suddenly, "Alpha," I heard a voice say. The door slammed open. I flinched. My Gamma captain came in and stood breathless. His uniform was drenched in sweat, and his eyes were wide. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. "What?" I croaked, staggering to my feet. "What? It's Jason," he said. I blinked. "What about him?" "He's dead." My chest caved. "No. Murdered." His jaw clenched. By Gina, his wife, and Kathy's Pove. The moment I got a mind link from James, I knew something was wrong. I felt it before I even heard his voice. I could feel the twist in my stomach that told me my world was about to fall apart again. Was it the kids? Oh no, I hope nothing bad had happened to them. "Kathy," his voice came through my mind again. "It's Mom. She's been thrown into the dungeon." My heart stopped. Mom? How was that possible? What? I replied, already standing. What are you talking about? Why? They're saying she tried to murder Dad. My lungs constricted, refusing to pull in air. It felt like the walls were closing in on me. Derek had a worried look on his face. Hey, he said softly, is everything okay? No, I whispered out loud, shaking my head. No, that's not possible. Kathy, what is it? Derek asked again. They arrested her for murdering Dad, James said. In that moment, it felt like my heart stopped. Oh no, that couldn't be true. I looked at Derek. They've arrested my mother for murder. We're leaving now, he said. I grabbed his hand. You can't just leave. You're Alpha. I know. Still, we need to talk to James. I have a feeling that something is wrong here. I swallowed hard. I had the same feeling. As soon as we went over to James's place, we got ready with the kids, Arya and Noah. We packed as much as we could. Within minutes, the four of us were in the car, heading back to the one place I swore I'd never return to. The Blackwood Pack, my past, my cage, the place that hurt me the most. As soon as we crossed the pack's borders, I felt a weight inside my chest, pinning me to the seat. My breath caught. The air felt heavier here, and suddenly I was there again, locked away in the dungeon. I remembered every whip and beating the Gamma gave me even while I was pregnant. I remembered every insult Luna Helen gave me. I remembered every time the Omegas and pack members would disrespect me and laugh at me. I remembered it all, the cold floor beneath me, my stomach tight with hunger, the stench of mold and whetstone filling my lungs. My arms wrapped around my middle, my body started shaking with fever. I remember curling up in the corner of the dungeon cell, pregnant and forgotten. My screams were ignored even when I was sick. Help me! I'd shouted into the void. Please, somebody! But there had been no response, only silence, and the sound of Violet's laughter echoing in my ears. The sight of her and Kane was fresh in my mind. Every time Kane would choose her, over and over again. I clutched my arms around myself, fighting the panic I started to feel. Tears stung my eyes. Noah must have noticed because he leaned over from the passenger seat. Kathy, breathe. You're safe. We're here now. But I couldn't breathe, not with the weight of this place crushing me. I turned to James. Stop the car. What? James, stop. I'm going to... Before the sentence left my mouth, I flung the door open and stumbled out. My knees hit the floor, and I doubled over, vomiting onto the side of the road. My stomach heaved again and again until there was nothing left but bile. I hated this place. I hated that it still had power over me, and yet I had come back. For my mother. Once the nausea stopped and the tremors in my body began to still, Arya knelt beside me and handed me a water bottle. I rinsed my mouth, spit, and wiped my face with the back of my hand. Mommy, she said, are you okay? I'm okay, I whispered. Noah offered me his jacket, wrapping it around my shoulders despite the heat. Sorry, Mommy. I smiled at them. Thank you, my darlings. After a few more minutes, we went back inside the car. We continued forward. And that's when I saw it. A massive banner stretched across the pack's gates. Congratulations to Alpha Kane and the Phoenix Luna Violet on their engagement. A bitter laugh came out from my throat before I could stop it. I sounded unhinged, hollow. Violet had fooled them all. I had a feeling that my dad's murder was Violet's doing. I had no idea how, but something inside me told me she did it. How? Why? I didn't know, but I was going to find out. She'd gotten what she wanted, the title, the ring, the seat beside him. And still, she needed to destroy my mother. What more did she want? My blood? My soul? I walked past the gates without hesitation, ignoring the stares of shocked pack members. The members whispered my name, but I didn't care. I wasn't here for them. I was here to protect my mother. Then I smelled him. The moment I stepped into the palace, his scent hit me hard. That scent, deep cedar and something darker, something addictive. My wolf reared up in my chest, pacing wildly. My heart slammed against my ribs. It was something I hadn't felt in what felt like centuries. No, I muttered. Not now. Not again. My body responded before my mind could process it, drawn like a magnet toward the source. My palms grew clammy. My knees threatened to buckle. Every nerve screamed with awareness. I fought it. I shoved the bond down as hard as I could. I didn't want this. I didn't want him. Not anymore. But the moment I saw him, I faltered. Kane. He was standing at the top of the stairs, speaking to a warrior. His presence was as commanding as ever. When his eyes lifted and landed on me, Everything else in the world seemed to still. His jaw slackened. I could see the shock and disbelief in his eyes. "Kathy," he whispered like a prayer. The way he said my name sent shivers down my spine. Then he was moving down the stairs. He started rushing toward me like a man possessed. His eyes never left mine. "You're here," he breathed. God, I thought I'd never see you again." He reached for me, arms open, like he had every right in the world to hold me. I didn't hesitate. Slap. I slapped him across the face. The sound echoed through the whole space. His head jerked to the side from the force, and then silence followed. His eyes widened in stunned disbelief as he turned back to me. I stood there, trembling. I met his eyes, and for the first time, I didn't feel weak. I felt fire. He clearly still thought I was the same Kathy who would give up everything for him. He was wrong. Kane's POV. I couldn't accept it. No matter how many times I reviewed the reports, no matter how much the others insisted, no matter how many pieces of evidence I saw, I refused to believe that Gina had tried to kill Jason. This was Jason we were talking about. The man who knew every inch of Gina's soul, who loved her like she was the moon itself, who once knelt before her with shaking hands and a ring he'd carved himself. They had been in love. The kind of love that moved quietly, deeply, not flashy or loud. Their love was undeniable. What could have possibly changed? Yet, nothing else made sense. The days following the incident were like a blur to me. It was filled with investigation and interrogations. Jason's body had been found in their quarters with his neck broken. There were signs of forced entry. There were no defensive wounds. But Gina's scent was all over him. The room, the murder weapon. A wolfsbane-laced blade. It had Jason's blood on it. My Gamma led the investigation. And I, broken and guilty and barely holding my position together, sat through every debriefing, hoping, praying that some detail had been overlooked, that this was a mistake, that she had been framed. But each day, the reports came back the same. No one else was seen entering or leaving, Gamma said one night, setting down the latest findings. The staff confirms they heard shouting, then silence. She ran out afterward. Kathy. The thought of her shattered something inside me every time it crossed my mind. Imagine she was alive and heard about this. Jason was already gone. Gina was accused of murder. She'd never forgive me. I sat in my office, elbows on my desk, hands in my hair, trying to swallow the pressure clawing at my chest. The weight of leadership was crushing, but it was the guilt that suffocated me. The bottle of whiskey on my desk sat untouched for once. I wasn't even sure why. Maybe because drinking didn't dull the pain anymore, it just drowned it, only to have it resurface like rot the next morning. Violet entered without knocking. As always. "Kane," she said softly, like she had a right to speak to me in that voice. The voice meant for someone else. "You haven't eaten." I didn't answer. She walked behind my chair, placing her fingers on my shoulders. She squeezed me gently. I stiffened. My wolf snarled at her, threatening to come out of his cage. He hated her. Always had. She wasn't ours. She never had been. "Don't," I muttered. Her hands stilled. "I'm only trying to help. I know you're hurting." "I said don't," I snapped, shoving her hands off me and rising to my feet. She stepped back. I could see her wounded pride flashing in her eyes. "I gave you space. I waited for you," she began. I cut her off with a glare. "Leave." Her lips parted like she wanted to argue, but the look on my face stopped her. Her footsteps echoed as she left the room. And then I felt it. A tug, a pulse, a spark down my spine like lightning had kissed the soul right out of me. And then the scent hit me. The scent was familiar. As soon as I could feel it, it sucked the air out of my lungs. My mate, Kathy, could it be? How was this possible? My wolf howled. It wasn't a snarl or a growl, it was a cry of joy so loud it nearly knocked me to my knees. She was here, alive. I shoved the door open, my heart hammered like it might crack through my ribs. I tore through the hallway, down the stairs, bursting into the courtyard like a madman. I was just about to ask a warrior if he had seen her when my eyes landed on her. Kathy. 4, maybe 5 years. And yet she hadn't changed. Not really. Only she had gotten more beautiful. Her hair was longer and darker. Her skin glowed golden under the sunlight. She wore simple clothes, but she looked like a queen. No, she looked like home. "Kathy," I breathed, taking a step forward. She looked up and our eyes met. My world froze. Her eyes. Goddess. I had dreamed of them every night, those soft amber eyes, except now they weren't soft, they were hard, cold, tired. She didn't run into my arms, she didn't cry, she didn't speak. I rushed toward her, reaching out for her, then, crack. Her hand met my cheek with a slap. The sting snapped my head to the side. I was shocked. Silence fell. I turned slowly, blinking. Kathy? Her lips trembled, not with fear, not even with anger. With disappointment. "Don't you dare," she said quietly. "Don't you dare pretend like you get to touch me." My wolf whimpered. I was speechless. My Kathy had always been soft, gentle, forgiving, but this woman standing before me had fire in her eyes. "I thought you were." I choked. "I thought you were dead." "I was," she said simply. "To you." The words crushed something inside me. And then I noticed him. James. He was standing off to the side, glaring at me, and beside him were two children, a boy and a girl. They were small, they held hands, they were both no more than 4. The boy had my eyes. The girl had Kathy's dimples. My heart stopped. A boy and a girl, twins. I staggered back in shock. Could they be mine? Kathy's Pove. Kane's eyes locked onto the twins with a kind of stunned silence I hadn't expected. He looked at them with recognition and confusion at the same time. He stared at Arya first, then Noah. His eyes moved between them. I wanted nothing more than to keep the twins away from Kane. I wished I had hidden them when we got here, but for how long? He would still see them anyway. Still, I cursed myself for not keeping them somewhere, anywhere, away from his sight. "You?" His voice was husky, caught in his throat. "Kathy, are they mine?" My breath hitched in my throat, and my heart pounded violently. My palms clenched into fists. I swallowed the fear that was suddenly crawling up my spine. I couldn't let him see me falter. I couldn't let him have that power again. I folded my arms across my chest, lifting my chin. "No," I said coldly. "They're not yours." He looked like I'd punched him in the gut. His face dropped, and I could see the disappointment in his eyes. For a moment, I felt guilt. Just a bit of it. But I crushed it. He didn't deserve the truth. Not yet. Not after everything. But just then, the air changed. I heard the sound of heels echoing through the corridor, and my stomach knotted instantly. I didn't have to look up to know who it was. Violet. She walked in like she owned the air we breathed. Her lips were curled into a sneer. Her eyes barely glanced at the children. No warmth, no curiosity, before settling on me. She looked at me with the same irritation in her eyes that she had years ago. "Well, well," she said. "The mouse found her way back to the palace. How nice." I smiled slowly, not kindly, not meekly. I let the smile stretch in a way that made her blink in confusion. "Careful, Violet," I purred. "I'm not the mouse you remember. In fact, you should probably watch where you step now. I bite." She actually looked startled. For a moment, she blinked like she wasn't sure how to process my response. "You... what?" she whispered. I could see her confidence was wobbling just a bit. "I said I bite," I repeated, stepping closer until I could see the unease in her eyes. "Try me." She cleared her throat and looked away. Then she straightened her blazer with a huff. "Whatever. We need to complete your re-entry paperwork. We'll do it in Kane's office. Let's go." James held Noah while I held Arya. We followed Violet and Kane down the palace hallways. As we walked down the palace, I remembered the cruel memories I had from this place. The way the Omegas would laugh at me, the bruises on my body, the accusations, the whispered insults, the humiliation. I kept my eyes forward, but I felt everything. I could feel the pain all over again. I remembered every cry I swallowed in the dark, every time they called me weak, pathetic, disposable. Not anymore. We entered Kane's office. The walls were still the same shade of deep forest green. The massive windows still open to the training grounds. Everything was still the same. I turned to him. "She needs to leave." Violet laughed like the idea was too absurd to consider. "Excuse me." But to both our shocks, Kane didn't argue. He didn't hesitate. "Violet," he said, "step out." She froze. "What?" I said, "Step out." She blinked at him, like waiting for the punchline. But it never came. He didn't even look at her again. His attention was already shifting toward James and the twins. Violet finally stormed out. She slammed the door behind her. What the hell just happened? Kane was calm, too calm, as he sat behind his desk, hands folded like a man in control. He turned to James. "Standard protocol. You know how it is." James gave a nod, saying nothing. His eyes, however, remained watchful. He knew there was more happening here. Then Kane looked at Arya. "Little one," he said with a softness I hadn't expected. "You're beautiful, just like—" "I have a name," Arya snapped. Her arms were crossed, her chin was lifted just like mine had been. He paused. "Of course. What's your name?" "Arya, and I know who you are," she said boldly, not blinking. "You're the man who hurt my mommy." My heart squeezed. Kane froze, clearly startled. "And if you ever hurt her again," Arya added, "I'll come for you." She was 4. 4. And she stood like a warrior, fierce and unflinching. Just like her father. She had his guts. She had his confidence. Oh my. I bit back the tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. I couldn't help but feel proud of her. Kane looked like he didn't know whether to laugh or be horrified. I'm not that man anymore, Arya." "Good," she said bluntly and looked away. He exhaled deeply, rubbing the back of his neck. He smiled at Noah, but Noah glared at him. He opened his mouth to say something to Noah, but Kane closed his mouth back. Then he turned to James. "Please, take the kids to the playground. Finish the paperwork in the outer office." I stood quickly. "If they're going, I'm going." His eyes darkened. "No, sit down." I said, "I wasn't asking, Kathy." The command in his tone sent a chill straight through me. The old Kane, the alpha Kane, the one I feared once. I hesitated, but only for a second. Then I knelt in front of Arya. "You go with Uncle James, baby. I'll be right behind you." She looked at me. Her eyes searched mine as if silently asking if I was okay. Then she nodded. "Okay, Mommy, but scream if he does anything bad. I'll come back with Noah." I smiled, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Deal." James took their hands and I watched them disappear out the door. Then it was just me and Kane. Alone. He wanted us alone. But why? Kathy's puv. I stood rooted to the spot, refusing to sit. My arms were crossed tightly over my chest. My eyes never left Kane. Why did he want us to talk alone? The room suddenly felt smaller, like the walls themselves remembered the screams and tears that used to echo between them. My heart was pounding, but my face remained unreadable. I would not show weakness. Kane remained seated behind his desk, silent for a beat too long. His hands were clasped together as he leaned forward. Then, softly, he spoke. "I was surprised you slapped me," he said, "but I deserved that." I blinked, taken aback. Not because he admitted it, but because he didn't retaliate. A slap to an alpha was a declaration, one I had expected to pay for. I wasn't even thinking. My fingers twitched slightly, remembering the heat of my palm against his cheek. I hadn't planned it. It had just happened. "I thought you'd throw me in the dungeon," I said, flatly. "Maybe chop off my hand for disrespect." His jaw tensed and he leaned back in his chair, looking tired. He looked older than I remembered somehow. "I've changed," he said, looking at me. "At least I'm trying to." I scoffed. "Congratulations, you want a medal for trying?" He smiled bitterly. "You've gotten bolder, Kathy." I stepped forward slowly. "No, Kane, I've gotten smarter. There's a difference." He nodded, as if he accepted that. Then came the silence. "I missed you," he said, breaking the silence. The words hit harder than they should have. Was he telling the truth? Had he really missed me? I blinked, feeling my heart stutter in my chest, but I recovered quickly. "Too bad," I said coolly. "I didn't miss you." He flinched slightly at that, just the smallest twitch of his brow, but I saw it. He folded his hands on the desk and let out a shaky breath. Life without my Luna wasn't what I thought it would be. I tilted my head mockingly, feigning thought. "But you have a Luna, don't you? Violet? Pretty little thing with a heart full of poison." The smile that touched his lips this time was sad. I made a lot of mistakes. Violet was one of them. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. Instead, I walked closer, glaring at him. "You threw me away like trash," I hissed. "You let them humiliate me, beat me. You let me die in pieces, Kane." He stood suddenly. I flinched, just for a second, but I hated myself for it. "I didn't know," he growled. "I didn't know what they were doing to you." "Don't lie to me," I snapped. "You knew. You heard them. You watched, and you chose to do nothing. You accused me of every bad thing." Silence again. Then he spoke, quieter. "You're right." And then he said it, the words that sent my blood boiling. "I have a condition. You won't see your mother," he said, "unless you acknowledge me as your alpha." I froze. The gall, the audacity. My fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. I walked toward him until I stood just in front of his desk. "I would choose war before I ever submit to you again," I said. His eyes locked on mine. I could see a flicker of pain, then something deeper, hunger, need. The bond pulsed between us. The bond pulled at me violently and desperately. It hummed in my veins, pulling me closer to him. We were so close to each other. It took everything inside me not to pull him close and inhale his scent. My wolf cried out for her mate. Even after all these years, Kane could still make me feel like this. He was the only man who had this effect on me. And I fucking hated it. My wolf stirred inside me, whispering his name like a prayer. Mate. I tried to resist it, to shut it down, but I could feel him. His energy was suffocating. I could see the way his hands trembled slightly at his sides. How his eyes darkened, not with anger, but with desire. I hated him. I wanted him. My body betrayed me first. A single step forward, then another. I was standing directly in front of him, barely inches between us. My eyes flicked to his lips. I wanted to taste them. I wanted to sit on his lap, wrap myself around him, and remind him exactly what he lost. But I couldn't. I hate you, I whispered, not sure if he could hear me. His hand reached up slowly, achingly slow, until his fingertips brushed my cheek. My breath caught in my throat. But you still feel it, he said hoarsely. You feel this, don't you? I wanted to lie. I wanted to say no. But my eyes gave me away. I can't, I choked. I can't do this, Kane. He nodded but didn't step back. Then why haven't you moved away? That snapped something in me. I shoved him, hard, and stormed toward the door. My pulse echoed in my ears, and my chest ached with the force of emotions I refused to name. I didn't stop walking until I flung the door open and stepped out into the hallway. I breathed in deep, dragging air into my lungs like I'd been drowning. I needed to get out. I needed air. I needed to feel like I wasn't being dragged back into something I'd barely survived. Outside, the sun was beginning to set. I spotted James instantly. He was crouched beside Arya, showing her how to toss a stone into a target ring. Noah giggled beside them, holding a stick and pretending it was a sword. For a moment, everything slowed. This could have been our life. If Kane hadn't betrayed me, if he'd fought for me instead of turning away, maybe we would have raised them here in this damn palace. Laughed together, slept in the same bed, walked these halls as a family. But that dream was long dead. Derek had been the one who stayed, who protected, who sacrificed. He had been the father figure to the kids. I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts. James noticed me and stood quickly, coming over. Hey, he said. When do we get to see Mom? I sighed, unsure of what to tell him. Damn you, Kane. Kathy's pove. I tried to control the anger that was spreading inside Kane. How dare he give me an ultimatum? To see my mom? How cruel could he be? He wanted me to submit to him. Over my dead body, the new Kathy submits to nobody. My hands trembled at my sides and I clenched them into fists to stop myself from shaking. James looked at me with concern. Whoa, Kathy, James said. What's wrong? I took a deep breath. It's Kane. He said I couldn't see Mom unless I recognized him as my alpha. James exhaled deeply. That's why you're angry. I'm pissed. I just want to. I raised my voice, then stopped. I didn't want to make a scene in front of the kids. I took deep breaths, trying to calm myself down. Kathy, you need to be smart about this, James said softly. Smart? Smart? I snapped. You want me to be smart while that bastard tries to blackmail me with the only family we have left? I'm not saying what he did was right, James said gently, raising his hands in surrender. But if you go at this with your emotions leading the way, he's going to win. He's a strategic alpha. You know how he thinks. I looked away, jaw clenched tight. My nails dug into the skin of my palm. I would rather die, James, I said coldly, than submit to Kane again. My wolf might still feel the bond, but I don't. Not anymore. I won't be controlled. Not by him. Not ever again. He sighed again, rubbing his temples. I wish I could go back, fix everything, protect you, protect Mom, Dad. You didn't fail us, I said softly, reaching out to place a hand on his shoulder. We couldn't have known this would happen. I believe Mom is innocent, and I swear to you we will find the truth, even if I have to burn this whole palace to the ground. We stood in silence for a moment before I heard a giggle. I turned, instantly alert. It was Arya. My heart leapt as we both hurried down the steps into the gardens. The second we rounded the corner, I stopped cold. Noah and Arya were on the swings. And Violet was pushing them. My stomach dropped. It wasn't the usual, gentle kind of push you'd expect from someone playing with children. No, she was shoving the swings hard, fast, too fast for comfort. Noah's legs flailed in panic, and Arya let out a squeal that was more frightened than delighted. "What the hell?" James started, but I was already gone. My wolf moved to the surface instantly. All the years of humiliation, pain, fear, all the times I bit my tongue, it came out in a blinding flash of rage. "Get away from my children!" I roared, storming across the grass. Violet turned around just as I reached her. Her smirk was already spreading. "Oh, relax," she said, brushing her perfect curls behind her ear. "They're just kids. A little rough play won't kill them." "They're my kids," I screamed. She rolled her eyes, completely unfazed. "Don't be so dramatic. You act like I'm the villain in some cheap soap opera. Maybe if you'd been a better mate, Cain wouldn't have left you." I didn't even think. My hand flew across her face with a loud, satisfying crack. She stumbled back a step, her hand flying to her cheek. Her eyes went wide in disbelief. You hit me," she gasped. I stood tall. My heart was pounding so hard as my wolf struggled to come to the surface. Damn right, I did. Arya and Noah had stopped swinging, staring in awe and confusion. James gently pulled them back a few steps, shielding them behind him. Violet recovered quickly. "You've lost your mind." "No," I said coolly, stepping toward her. "I've just remembered who the hell I am. And you know what else happened? My wolf is back." Her eyes widened. "Your wolf?" "That's right," I said, "and she remembers everything you ever did to me. Every time you tried to make me feel small. Every time you used Cain against me. Every lie, every whisper." "You still think Cain cares about you?" She snapped, regaining her edge. She lifted her hand and wiggled her fingers in my face, showing off a massive diamond. "This says otherwise." I tilted my head and smiled. "Funny, because just last night, your precious Cain called me his Luna." Her smirk faltered. I leaned in closer and my voice dripped with mock sympathy. "Looks like you're not as secure in your throne as you think. Maybe he's realizing he made the wrong choice. Maybe." I let the words hang, then whispered in her ear, "Maybe I'll convince him to take me back." I'm starting to think Cain might just beg me to take him back," I said, arms crossed as I stared at Violet. "And if he does..." I paused. I might just consider it. Even I was stunned by my own confession. It felt like an admission I had no right to make. Violet stiffened like she'd been slapped. Her face was as pale as chalk. Her lips were trembling. Her eyes were wide with disbelief and fear? Not fear. Rage barely held. You think this is a game, don't you?" She said, "You think you can come back and just take him from me?" She took a step closer, fists clenched. "Stay away from Cain, Kathy. I'm warning you. I won't be so polite next time." Her voice lowered, but her eyes burned. Threatening. And she wasn't bluffing. I could feel the darkness in her words. My gut twisted. I remembered that tone from another time. She would always threaten me. But I didn't let her see me flinch. Instead, I smiled. "No one cares about your precious Alpha," I said. "He's just my leftover." Her eyes widened in horror and hurt, and for a brief second I felt something stir in my chest. Pity, maybe. Then, "Kathy," a familiar voice echoed behind me. I froze. That voice, I turned slowly. My breath hitched as my eyes landed on him. Cain. His eyes were on me, but his expression was unreadable, cold. My heart pounded. Had he heard everything? Of course he had. I waited for him to lash out, to scold me, to scream at me for saying such words to his Luna, to defend her, but instead his gaze shifted, his eyes darkened and landed on Violet. "That's enough," he said coldly. "Stop provoking her." I blinked in shock. I had to blink repeatedly to make sure I was seeing correctly. "Wait, what?" Violet's jaw dropped. "Cain, what? Did you hear what she said?" He didn't even look at her. He looked at me. "Leave," Cain ordered. Violet blinked in shock. "What?" I said, "Leave, Violet." His voice was so firm that it made my stomach flip. Violet looked between us. Her lips parted as if to argue, but then she must have seen something, maybe the way Cain's body shifted slightly toward me, or maybe she just knew she'd lost, for now. "I won't forget this," she hissed under her breath. "Neither of you will." And with that, she stormed off in anger. The silence she left behind felt deafening. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know how to feel. For once in years, Cain stood up for me, but why? Was there trouble in paradise? Cain finally took a step toward me. "I can arrange a place for you to stay while you're here. Somewhere safer, more private. You and the kids." "No, thank you." I cut in coldly, stepping back. We'll manage just fine. His brows furrowed. It's not about convenience, it's about keeping everyone safe. The pack's on edge. They could... Oh, now you care about the safety of the pack? The kids? I scoffed. That's rich, Kane. Where was that concern when everything was falling apart and you let it? His face darkened immediately. I could see the pain through his eyes. Good. Let him feel it. I know I failed, he said quietly. I know I hurt you, but I never stopped. He swallowed. I never stopped caring. I'm sorry for all I did. I hated the way those words made me feel. He stepped closer, slowly, hesitantly, as though unsure if I would bolt. I was a coward, he said. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought pushing you away would fix things. But I was wrong, about everything. He reached for my hand. I didn't move. His fingers brushed mine. It was a single point of contact, but it was like touching fire. My breath caught in my throat as sparks shot up my arm. I could feel the electricity spreading through my veins. My wolf stirred, howling, yearning. Damn him. His fingers curled around mine, and for a second, just a second, I let him hold my hand. Our eyes met. It was like everything else fell away. The noise, the hurt, the pack, Violet, just us. His voice dropped to a whisper. I wake up every morning and I still smell you on my sheets. I still hear your laugh in the silence. Every time I close my eyes, it's you. Just you. My breath caught. Don't, I whispered, trying to pull away. I'm not lying anymore, he said, stepping closer. His hand cradled my face now. You're still mine, Kathy. You've always been mine. My body was on fire. I couldn't breathe. His thumb brushed my cheek. My lips trembled. You feel it too, he murmured. Don't pretend. And then he leaned in. God help me, I wanted it. His lips were inches away. My heart pounded wildly in my chest. I closed my eyes, felt his breath on mine. But then, that ring. I remembered the ring on Violet's finger. Engaged. He was engaged to her. He chose her. Again and again. I should never forget that. I shoved him back with a gasp, like I'd been burned. Don't, I said. Don't do that. Kathy, you don't get to kiss me while she's still wearing your ring. I didn't mean for that, too. We need to finish the rejection, I cut in. Soon, so I can move on. His jaw clenched. With Alpha Derek. I finished. Kane's Pove. Ever since she left, there hasn't been a single night I haven't thought about her. Kathy. Her name echoed in my thoughts, in every space she used to occupy beside me. Her scent still haunted my sheets, and worst of all, her absence burned in my chest. I didn't realize how much I needed her until I lost her. Correction, I pushed her away, like a fool. And now I was watching her stand with that defiant tilt to her chin. Her eyes sparked with the same fire I used to crave. Still crave. She was arguing with Violet, and while I couldn't hear the words just yet, I could feel the tension in the air. I was already walking toward them before my mind caught up with my legs. My wolf was practically clawing at the inside of my skin. She's upset, he growled. Fix it. Violet was trembling. You think you can come back and just take him from me? She took a step closer, fists clenched. Stay away from Kane. Kathy, I'm warning you. I won't be so polite next time. Kathy didn't flinch. No one cares about your precious Alpha, she said with a sneer. He was just my leftover. I flinched at the venom in her voice. My gut twisted. I knew she was trying to provoke Violet, but hearing her say that, it hurt deeper than I'd care to admit. Did she really mean that? Kathy, I said firmly, stepping into view. Her body tensed, and Violet spun around to face me. I spoke up. That's enough. Stop provoking her. Everything was like a blur. The touch we shared. It sent fire through my veins. I had never felt like this with anyone. I wanted her more than anything. I was ready to go on my knees. But then she said words that cut through my soul. I want to reject you, she said. I need to move on. Alpha Derek. As soon as she said that, it felt like my world stopped. What? I had to look at her to make sure I had heard her correctly. She wanted to move on with someone else? My blood turned to ice. You're with him? She didn't answer right away. I stepped forward again, voice trembling. Kathy, tell me it's not true. She bit her lip and then nodded. Something inside me snapped. My wolf moved forward. I could feel the pain and rage in my veins. My wolf fought to come out of his cage and tear down everything. She's ours! She's ours! He howled in my head. How can she give herself to another? I grabbed her wrist. Tell me this is just to hurt me. Tell me it's a lie. I'm going to marry him, she said. My grip loosened. My heart stopped. It felt like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. Then another voice cut in. James. She doesn't owe you an explanation, he said coldly, stepping beside her. And yes, she is marrying Alpha Derek. Of course, James. The man I had once assumed was her lover, the one I had stupidly accused her of cheating with. I had broken us with my jealousy, my insecurity. James stared at me with disgust. Kathy didn't look away, not once. I wanted to reject you today, she said softly. Right now. The pain in my chest was unbearable. I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. I turned around, walked away. It was all I could do to keep from falling apart right in front of her. I barely made it out of sight before my knees buckled. I grabbed onto a wall, gasping for air. My wolf roared and screamed inside my mind. This is your fault. You chose the wrong side. You abandoned her. She was pregnant with your child. You don't deserve her. And now I had lost her for good. I had no one else to blame. My mate, my pup, my heart. Gone. How could I ever win her back? And more importantly, would I ever get the chance? Kathy's Povey. Watching Kane's broken silhouette disappear into the distance felt like someone had wrapped a fist around my heart and squeezed. Tight. My chest ached and I couldn't breathe for a second. His broad shoulders, usually held high with confidence and pride, were hunched over, defeated. I had never seen Kane like that. He was a proud alpha, always composed, always cold. But just now, he looked shattered. He looked sad. Why? Why had his eyes held such emotions? Why had his jaw clenched, like he was holding back words? Why did he look like I had just ripped his world apart when I said I was moving on with Derek? Did he love me? That question echoed, tormenting me. But how could he? He had treated me like I was disposable, like I didn't matter. He had rejected me, ignored me, broken me in ways I hadn't even understood until Derek came into my life and started picking up the shattered pieces. And yet, my wolf stirred in my chest, whining softly, restless and aching. She yearned for her mate. Kane, she whimpered. No, I shook my head, refusing to let myself go there. I wasn't doing this again. The kids were waiting. I loaded Noah and Ariaria into the car with James in the passenger seat and headed back to the only place that still felt somewhat familiar, my parents' house, or what used to be our home before everything fell apart. The moment I stepped through the front door, it hit me hard. The scent of lavender from Mom's old potpourri bowl still lingered faintly in the air. The creak in the third floorboard by the entrance still groaned, just the same. The family portraits still hung on the hallway walls. Everything was the same, and yet everything felt foreign. Empty. The hallway felt colder, quieter, and I knew why. Dad. My throat tightened, and I swallowed hard. I couldn't help but feel the grief again. My dad was dead. He took me in when everyone thought I was cursed. He treated me like a real father. My heart broke every time I remembered he was gone. Memories rushed back. Dad chasing James and me around the living room with a towel during water fights. Mom laughing from the kitchen as she made her famous tomato soup. The nights we all curled up on the couch watching old cartoons together. Love had lived in these walls. Now, Mom was in a holding cell, accused of killing the very man she adored. The thought made me sick. It wasn't true. It couldn't be true. I forced myself to push the pain aside. The kids needed me right now. I'll make dinner, I said, trying to summon some enthusiasm. I moved on autopilot, pulling out ingredients, turning on the stove, mixing, stirring, seasoning. My hands remembered what my heart didn't want to feel. Noah sat on the counter, swinging his legs. Mommy, can I help? Of course, baby, I said, smiling. You're the best helper. Arya ran in with James holding a stack of napkins. Table's ready. We all sat down around the kitchen table. James poured water. Noah snuck extra garlic bread. Arya giggled whenever the spaghetti sauce got on her nose. They laughed, teased, and made faces at one another like kids were supposed to. Watching them filled me with warmth. Contagious. I laughed more than I had in days. I almost forgot. Almost. After dinner, we moved to the living room. I pulled out an old board game, and we played until our sides hurt from laughing. James was shockingly competitive for someone who used to cheat at Monopoly, and Noah kept trying to bribe Arya with gummy bears. It was chaos. It was perfect. I let myself relax just for a moment. Then Noah tilted his head and looked at me with that way too wise for his age expression. Mommy, do you hate Alpha Kane? He asked me. The room fell quiet. I stared at him, stunned for a second. Where had that come from? I smiled. Sweetheart, kids shouldn't be nosy. But you looked sad when you talked to him. I blinked. Did I? He nodded, and Arya just kept playing with her stuffed wolf, oblivious. James looked at me with his brows raised, but he remained silent. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I saw the name flash on the screen and exhaled in relief. Alpha Derek, I told the kids with a smile. Their faces lit up. Uncle Derek! They chorused, climbing over each other to get close. I chuckled, putting the call on speaker. Hey, I said, a little breathless. You've got fans. Derek's voice came through the line. Hey, sunshine, are those my little monsters I hear? Uncle Derek, Noah yelled. When are you coming? Soon, buddy. I promise, Derek said. Did you eat all your veggies? Almost. Noah grinned guiltily. We talked for a few more minutes. The kids were practically trying to crawl through the phone. When they were satisfied, they ran off to finish their game. Derek's voice softened once they were gone. How are you holding up? I sighed, trying not to fall apart. You don't have to be strong all the time, Kathy. I closed my eyes at the way he said my name. It was gentle, reassuring. I'll be okay. I just need to clear her name. That's all I can think about, I said. I know, and I'm here for you, every step of the way. I couldn't help but smile. You're too good to me. Someone's gotta be, he murmured. You deserve peace. My heart fluttered. I knew Derek cared deeply for me. He'd been nothing but kind, loving, safe. Everything Kane never was. I'll call you tomorrow, I said softly. Good night, Derek. Sweet dreams, Kathy. After putting the kids to bed, I walked into my old room. I hadn't stepped foot in here for years. The walls were still pale lavender, and the bed still had the blanket Mom made me as a teen. I closed the door behind me with a sigh, but before I could take another step, a scent hit me. The scent was familiar. My heart thudded, my body froze. I turned slowly, looking toward the balcony. That's where the scent was coming from. And there he was, Kane, or rather, his wolf. He stood perfectly still. His massive paws were planted firmly on the wooden balcony. His fur was a mesmerizing mix of dark mahogany and deep black that shimmered under the silver moonlight. His shoulders were wide and powerful, his chest rising and falling slowly. His amber eyes burned. They locked onto mine. My breath caught. My wolf stirred, howling within me, clawing against the walls I'd built. My legs nearly gave out. I should have screamed, should have told him to leave. But I didn't. I couldn't. I just stood there, heart racing, staring into the golden fire of his eyes, unable to look away. And in that one electric moment, I knew. This wasn't over. Not even close. Kane's POV. I couldn't sleep. No matter how many times I shifted on the bed, no matter how tightly I shut my eyes or pressed my fists to my temples, begging for peace, it wouldn't come. The silence of the night only made the war inside my head worse. A war I'd started, and maybe a war I'd already lost. Kathy, her name alone made my chest tighten. I groaned, sitting up, raking my fingers through my hair. My throat was raw, probably from holding back the screams I wanted to let out. She was gone. She really left me. And she took our pups with her. Our pups. Even now, my heart squeezed just thinking about them. I thought of those two perfect little kids that came from us, and I'd pushed them away the moment I chose Violet. Gods, how could I have been so blind? I knew those kids were mine. I could feel it in my bones. A father knows his kids when he sees them. I don't care how much she tries to deny it, I knew the truth. Noah and Arya were my kids. Arya had my stubbornness, my fearless alpha spirit. Noah was just like me as well, just a more intense and quiet version. Still, I could feel the quiet strength from him. He didn't have to say too much to show authority. You know damn well why she left. My wolf growled. The low growl came from inside me. My wolf. He'd been on edge for days, ever since Kathy stormed out that door. I didn't mean for it to go this far, I whispered back. You chose another, when your true mate needed you, when our pups needed you. His tone was pure venom. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. The truth hit me like a punch to the gut. My head dropped, my jaw clenched. He was right. I didn't want to know. I saw Kathy cry, beg, and I turned away. I let Violet's sweet voice drown out Kathy's silent screams. I'd convinced myself Kathy would always wait, that no matter what I did, she'd be there. Gods, I was such a fool. Now what? I asked him. Now what do we do? You did enough. I heard the sneer in his voice, the disgust. Let me try to fix what you broke. That sent a chill down my spine. Wait. What? No, you can't just... But he didn't wait for permission. My chest burned, my bones cracked, my skin split as my wolf moved forward, taking over. I shifted mid-sentence, forced down into the recesses of my own mind while he took full control. The pain of the shift was nothing compared to the pain already inside me. I could barely breathe as my paws hit the cold floor. "I'm going to find her," he said. My wolf's voice echoed in our shared mind. "You stay quiet." I tried to protest. "She won't want to see us. She'll slam the door in our face. Don't make this worse." But he didn't respond. He was already moving. The wind hit our fur as he ran through the woods. Leaves crunched under our paws, but none of that mattered. He had one destination in mind, one scent guiding him, hers. The moon cast silver light over everything, illuminating our path. Her scent was faint, but it was there. I could smell it. I whimpered in the back of his mind. "She won't forgive us. She doesn't have to." He growled back. "But I need to see her. One last time." We reached her cabin, her parents' home. The windows were dark, but I could see the soft glow of candles flickering inside. She was home. My heart pounded. He crept closer, tail low, ears alert, every step quiet. The garden around her porch was still in bloom. Roses Kathy once told me her mom planted because Kathy owed them. I remembered that now. Gods, why did I remember all the right things too late? He stopped at the edge of her balcony, just in the shadows, staring. And then she stepped out. She was barefoot and wrapped in a long robe. Her hair was loose around her shoulders. The moonlight kissed every inch of her skin, and she looked like a goddess. A queen. A mother. My breath caught. "She's perfect," my wolf whispered. Her eyes found us instantly. I froze. She didn't scream. She didn't shout. She didn't run back inside. Instead, she looked right at us, at me. And I swear, in that moment, I felt the thread that still tied us together tighten. The mate bond came to life. "Kane?" she whispered. Her voice cracked when she said my name. It broke me all over again. We didn't move. We didn't dare. Her hand lifted, shaking, but still, it lifted. I braced myself for the rejection. But then she stepped forward. One step, then another. Her robe trailed behind her as she moved. And then she did the unthinkable. She reached out and touched me. Kathy's pove, I wasn't ready for this. I didn't even see him coming. One moment I was standing in my room, and the next, I felt the warmth of fur against my hand. My fingers moved on their own, threading through the thick, silvery fur that I knew far too well. My heart clenched the second I saw him. Kane, or rather, his wolf. I should have slammed the door in his face. I should have turned and walked away. But my traitorous wolf had other ideas. Suddenly, a burning sensation spread through me. My vision blurred, and my knees trembled as she pushed forward, taking control from me. I gasped, struggling to hold on, but she was already slipping past my grip, stepping right into the center of my consciousness. "No!" I screamed at her internally. "Don't you dare! He hurt us! He left us! He left our pups!" But she didn't listen. She never did when it came to him. I watched helplessly as a prisoner in my own body as she knelt beside him and nuzzled him affectionately. Her cheek pressed into his warm fur like it was the safest place in the world. "Stop it!" I cried out again, furious. "Don't you remember the pain, the betrayal? When I was pregnant and he still chose her?" She huffed softly in response, almost dismissively, like I was just a child throwing a tantrum. Her voice was calm, heartbreakingly calm. "His wolf is innocent," she said. Those words hit me like a slap. His wolf is innocent. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was Kane's human side who made all the wrong choices. But I couldn't afford to separate the two. Not anymore. Not after everything. I was still mad at him. With a feeling of rage and anguish, I shoved her back, clawing my way to the surface. I broke through with a gasp, stumbling back from him. The cold air bit at my skin where my cheeks had pressed into his fur. He sat there silently with his folded eyes following my every move. I didn't care how heartbroken he looked. "I should make you leave," I whispered harshly, blinking back angry tears. "I will make you leave." I turned toward the door, but before I could say another word, there was a loud knock. James. Of course, I could recognize that arrogant pounding anywhere. "Kathy, open the door," he called. "We need to talk. Now." "Oh, moon goddess," I muttered, scrambling toward the door while glaring back at the wolf still perched in the corner of my room. But he didn't stay there. That infuriating, enormous alpha of a wolf suddenly leapt onto my bed, curling into the blankets like he belonged there. Before I could shout or even react, he pawed at the sheets and slipped underneath them like a damned house cat hiding from the rain. "You've got to be kidding me," I hissed. But it was too late. James was already turning the doorknob. I took a deep breath, slapped on the coldest expression I could manage, and opened the door. James walked in with an annoyed expression. "Are you okay?" I asked him. "Not really. We need to talk." I folded my arms and looked at him. "About what?" "You need to stop being so stubborn, Kathy. This pride of yours is going to cost you more than you know," he began, shaking his head with disapproval. I clenched my jaw, crossing my arms to hide the way my body trembled. Not from James, but from the knowledge that there was a whole damn alpha werewolf under my sheets, and my bed was very small. "I'm not being stubborn," I snapped. "I'm being reasonable. I don't want to see Kane, and I certainly don't want to talk about him." James stepped further in. "You're not listening. This isn't just about you, Kathy. Our mother's fate lies in Kane's hands. If you want peace in the territory, you're going to have to submit to him eventually." Submit. The word made my spine stiffen. My wolf stirred again, clearly conflicted. "I don't care if he's the alpha of the world," I said through gritted teeth. "He lost the right to ask anything of me the moment he walked away from our marriage." James groaned, clearly frustrated. "Do you even know what's at stake here? You're too emotionally entangled to see the big picture." "I see the big picture just fine," I hissed. "And right now, the only thing I care about is keeping my pups safe." Behind me, I felt movement, a shift under the blankets. No, please stay still." I half listened as James kept ranting about territory politics, submission, obligations, and fate, but my entire focus was on the warmth of a body hidden beneath my sheets. By the time James finally finished, I was seconds away from imploding. "I hope you come to your senses," he said, heading for the door. "For everyone's sake." The moment it clicked shut behind him, I snapped. "All right, you bastard," I growled, stomping toward the bed. "Get the hell out." I yanked the covers back with one swift motion, ready to throw him out of my house, my room, my life, and froze. The blankets fell away in a slow motion, revealing not fur, not a wolf, but him. Kane. He was in his human form, completely naked. My breath lodged in my throat. Every inch of him was carved from muscle and moonlight. Broad shoulders, muscular-toned body, powerful arms, a chest that still had faint scars from battles. His skin was golden bronze under the candlelight. He had perfect abs and hard lines that led lower, much lower. I swallowed hard. He didn't even flinch, just laid there like a carved statue from the gods with one arm folded behind his head. The other hand lazily dragged the blanket to cover just enough, but not nearly enough. His eyes locked onto mine, intense, burning. And then he smirked. "Miss me?" he asked.